What's up, y'all? Trea Turner is back today. He will be in the Phil's lineup. Unfortunately for Johan Rojas, that means he has been sent down to AAA. This was kind of anticipated for a number of reasons. Obviously, Rojas has not played too well this year. He has a sub 600 OPS right now. He's been picked off a few times on the base paths, and I think his defense, while still very, very good, it hasn't been quite at the elite level I think the Phillies were hoping it would be. And there's been a few uncharacteristic mistakes out there defensively. He flat out dropped the baseball, I believe, a couple weeks or a month ago. And overall, I think he's been very, very, very good out there, like I said. I mean, he has the range, he has the arm. I don't think those have been the issue. I think it's just been a couple uncharacteristic mistakes, like I said. And that can't happen when you are out there specifically for your defense. You're not out there for your bat right now. And like I said, the bat hasn't been good. He's getting on base at a 271 clip. That's not going to cut it. And also with 1 through 8, you're hoping that those guys are going to cover up some of his mistakes as well. And they've been very good. Obviously, the Phillies are one of the better teams in baseball for a reason. But when you have guys like Castellanos who aren't hitting well, and then I think Stott will get going eventually. I don't worry about him too much, but he has not been what we had hoped he would be to this point in the year, at least offensively, right? When you have a couple holes like that or a couple guys who slump, obviously Bone was slumping at 1.2. He got hot this past weekend. He's going to get exposed a little bit more. And there was a number of times where it turned back over the top of the order, not in the fashion you would have wanted it to, where Rojas either just was kind of a rally killer or he didn't get on base for Schwarber. It just wasn't happening often enough, regardless. So this was the best move. It just made the most sense. And I hate that what we expected earlier in the year, a lot of us, of Rojas eventually getting sent down to get reps down there. I hate that came true because I was hoping that he was going to be able to hit well enough just to stay up here and just be serviceable at the plate. But it has not. That has not been the story to this point. So you now are in a situation where you have probably Marsh in center field full-time. Obviously, he's been playing center field the past couple days, or the past day he did in Camden Yards, and he did in his rehab assignment. He's probably going to get the bulk of the reps out there with Pache maybe platooning against lefties here and there, and then I would anticipate David Dahl and Whit Merrifield probably platooning in left field for the time being, and I think that spot will be filled by an outfielder at the deadline via trade. So I could see Sosa getting some reps out there too, especially now that Trea's back. He's not going to be in the lineup as consistently. And obviously Sosa was playing very well. He got a little overexposed by the end there, but he's still a good player. I would hope he mixes in out there because even though left field isn't necessarily his primary position, his bat's been really, really good for us. So I think with how those two guys are performing, David Dahl has cooled off since his first 6 plate appearances, and Whit Merrifield hasn't done much. I would think maybe Sosa will mix in out there. But maybe this is an opportunity for them to say, hey, Whit Merrifield, we signed him. Maybe we're going to give him more playing time now. I don't know what they're thinking on that front. But regardless, like I said, I think they're going to fill that spot with an outfielder at the deadline. I don't think that's any secret. Jim Bowden said yesterday they might look for a starting outfielder and a fourth outfield type. So I don't know if they're going to add 2 outfielders at the deadline. That would kind of surprise me. But at the same time, they could definitely use it. I think you add a right-handed starting outfielder if you can. And then maybe you add a left-handed bench bat who's a fourth outfielder who can maybe pinch hit for Castellanos in a certain situation if he's really cold at some point. I don't know. I think there's a lot of things to consider out there too. And having two potential platoons in the outfield is not a great thing. I think Marsh should get more reps against lefties at this point, but again, he hasn't really earned that to this point. He's had some moments against lefties, but they've been flashes. He hasn't necessarily consistently hit against them. And you could argue that's playing time, but you could also argue that maybe he's not quite ready to hit against lefties full-time right now, and who knows if he will be. So I love Marsh. I'm not trying to bash Marsh or anything. I think he's a really, really good starter for us, and I see him as a little more than a platoon for sure. But I do think he needs to hit better against lefties, especially now that we're going into a situation where you now have a spot where you need a guy in the outfield, and the outfield has been very unproductive this year. Out of MLB outfields as a whole, the Phillies are definitely in the bottom third, and part of that is Marsh got hurt too. I know Marsh wasn't playing the best before he got hurt, but I certainly think we know he can be hot and cold. I certainly think he's a very valuable piece of this outfield, and he contributes when he's in the lineup. So I'm very interested to see what they do at the deadline. There's a lot of names being thrown out there. Luis Robert is obviously the big one. I just don't know if they're going to be able to afford him or beat out other offers for him, but he would be the dream. There's guys like a Rosarena. I think the Rays are a smart organization. They're not just going to sell low on him just to sell low. And then there's other names, there's your Tommy Phams, your Tyler O'Neills, your Mark Kanyas. I think those guys are kind of more realistic for the Phillies right now, and I'm curious to see if they'll make an offer for any of them. O'Neill even might be a little more expensive now with how he's played this year, but I'll be curious to see if the Red Sox are willing to give him up or if they want to try to keep him and make a run at that wild card spot. And that's the other problem. There's not a ton of sellers this year, and there weren't a ton last year, but this year, look at that National League wild card race. I mean, the Mets just got hot. They're 5-1. And they're right in the thick of that race now. I mean, it's really only the Rockies and Marlins who are officially, I mean, not officially eliminated, but unofficially officially eliminated, I guess you could say. And even the AL wildcard race, there's a number of teams in there. Like, there's just not going to be a ton of teams that are definitively selling. There's a lot of teams who are going to be going for that last wildcard spot. So I don't really know what route they go, but again, a guy like Tommy Pham, he's on the White Sox. He could make sense. There's a number of names that make sense. So I'm curious to see what they do there, but let me know your guys' thoughts if you guys have any names. I have a number of names who I've looked at already who I didn't even mention in this video, but we'll be getting to those on the trade deadline pod. So keep an eye out for those. I'll see you guys later on the pod today. I think me and Drew are going to be going live to talk about the upcoming week and also about this move, and let me know what your guys' thoughts are on Johan Rojas getting sent down. Thank you guys for watching. God bless you all. See you guys on the next one. Peace.